Happy Monday!
Happy Monday. What's going on?
What is going on with the market right now this week? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've definitely predicted the gas prices changing, and it's $8 in LA.
Woo.
So,
You know what? I'm so glad I have an electric car right now. I got to say it. It's nice to have an electric car right now. So I don't really care what gas prices do as long as my electric
is it
bills-
100%?
Yeah.
Electric?
100%
Oh.
electric. Not a hybrid, 100% electric. Right now, I drive past gas stations and I'm like, Jesus.
Oh man! Well, I don't have a car payment, so
Okay.
a couple dollars or $1 more, it's not too bad. But
Oh.
I mean, how's that affecting the real estate market as far as interest rates
Interest
and
rates.
things goes?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of uncertainty. So we're seeing across the market, whether it's stocks, crypto, and gold, silver, and mortgage rates, we're seeing a lot of change, right? A lot of uncertainty. So the market doesn't know what to do, how to react. And we are seeing rates go up. 2-3 weeks ago, we were kind of on a low and we were really good. And now we've given some of that back. But that's not like a huge major concern. Like people shouldn't be worried like, oh, rates are going to fly and they're going to be back at 7%, at 7.25%. What we're seeing right now is just the adjustment to all this information that is coming out. I mean, we personally are adjusting to it and the market is too. And this is why we don't focus on mortgage rates when we speak to our clients. We focus on affordability, we focus on payment, we have our master plan of how we meet with clients and teach them how to buy a home and not just be focused on interest rates. You know, how that home is going to get back to them and to focus on that payment. So the market is a little crazy. And if you're fixated on looking at interest rates right now or what the market's doing, it's going to give you a headache. So I would say to anybody that's looking at interest rates, don't let that deter you from buying, right? Really focus on the most important thing. Is the payment comfortable? Can you afford that payment? And if it's a yes, you should continue with the process of buying.
Mm-hmm. So for someone who is an investor and who has 50 plus properties and who's looking at the market as a whole with bigger picture, and they're looking at the treasury and everything, how does the market affect those type of people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think investors love this type of markets. They really want markets to have crashes and expect things to kind of move because that's what investors look for, the right timing to get in. As far as if the market's not doing well, in fact, I have people when they see stocks go down, they jump. It's time to buy, right? Buy when it's low and just ride it out. Those types of investors don't fear, don't jump, don't sell when the market's going down. Instead, they jump right back in. So these markets don't scare investors. You know, investors have plans, they have reports. They look at numbers. They're number focused as far as what I'm buying, what kind of cash flow I'm going to have. It's all about cash flow, you know, and then they trend those things out. They don't move by what the market's doing as far as emotional. It's not an emotional decision for them. It's a money decision all the time.
That's very interesting because from an investor's perspective, if their focus is on cash flow and all about the numbers and how they can depict a deal that's going to give them that long-term return on investment, why do you think we experience this analysis by paralysis? You know, people are afraid to make that jump because of interest rates, or, you know, if another home buyer can be so excited about it and that's when they jump versus someone who's scared about it and doesn't jump. What do you think that mindset difference is?
I think it's all about those individuals that are making decisions. A lot of individuals that make decisions on an emotional part, right? Even when they're buying investment properties, they tend to make emotional decisions too. Mm-hmm. They sometimes put themselves in that property, right? And when you're buying an investment property, it's strictly for investment. don't see yourself in that property. I've kind of heard both of those sides. Like, well, you should see yourself if you were renting it. Would you be happy in it? And I don't think you can even do that because you are not a renter. You're a homeowner, and so you can't put yourself in that space, right? The renter's thinking like a renter. You're thinking like a homeowner, and so investors don't get emotional. And I think we get emotional when we buy items like cars and houses, and the idea of taking the emotional part of it sometimes seems kind of cold, right? But you have to take the emotional part of it. Even when you're buying your primary residence, yes, we sell the dream, right? We sell oh, look at this beautiful kitchen. Can you see your family here? Look at the backyard. Look, there's extra room, so you're growing a family. We sell the dream. But the reality that the decisions that are going to be made, they have to do with money, can't have an emotional feeling. They have to be all about numbers. And that's what you do great when we sit down with clients. We look at the numbers and we look at it as an investment, right? What if you have to sell this in 2 years and you don't have an equity? Can this rent out? Can you rent it out and cover your payment? Why do we take the emotional part of it? Because if you take the emotional part of it, clients can make real decisions. Then once they've focused on that decision that they can afford, then you can bring the emotional part into it. Because I think buying a home as your primary residence is a beautiful thing. But investors, we're talking about investors, I think they take the emotional part completely out of it. They're very like black and white. And most of us and most consumers are very emotional when it comes to making decisions, even buying stocks. Oh, I really like Disney. I love Disney. I'm going to buy Disney stock. It's like, is that like the best decision to buy Disney stock just because you love Disney? Or should you go look at the reports, go see how the company's doing, who's running the company, how much money are they making annually, quarterly, right? That's what real investors do. They don't make emotional decisions. They don't care about the name, the branding. They want to see, show me the reports. I want to see your P&Ls. I want to see how you're performing. I want to see what your strategy is. And if we do that in our own decision making, from buying a car to buying a home, we probably make way better decisions at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I also feel like there are levels to purchases. I feel like, granted that you're not making a decision off of an emotional, but you're leading logically, I feel like that's a high level way of thinking about your investments. And for first time home buyers or for someone who has never experienced anything before, it is a very emotional process. And I think finding the right professionals to partner with to educate them on what exactly it is to expect, so that way they can avoid all of the pitfalls that goes into buying a house, is very important. Because it's kind of like playing video games. You have to rack up all of these experience points in order to elevate to the next level. You can't get to the end of the game without having to surpass each obstacle that you're challenged with. And in most cases, there are some levels where you've got to reset 35 times, 45 times, 100 times. I can't tell you how many times I've watched my son play the same level over and over again, fall into the ocean, and has to go back at the beginning. Yeah. And I feel like, the game of Monopoly is a great example of the reality of life when purchasing homes. If you've never played Monopoly before and are just oblivious to the game, the objective and the goal of the game is to acquire as much property as you can, call rent when people land on your color, and earn the most amount of money in the quickest amount of time, right? Until all your other teams bankrupt, basically. Take all their money, right? But in life, you don't get to that high level thinking to where you can logically make a decision without having the emotions, without having to at least experience once or twice or 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, So I think that's the reason why it's so important having to sit down and have a home buying consultation with us, because we really walk through those types of situations with our clients,
Yeah.
having to help them understand exactly how to navigate through this process with the acknowledgement of their emotions, having them feel comfortable, knowing that we have their best interest at heart, and understanding, no matter what decision you make, because the choice will always be theirs,
Yep.
we're here to support you and back you up 100%.
And the good thing is when you're working with experienced professionals like us, we have all the cheat codes to how to get things done. And that's what separates us, right? If you want to treat this like a video game, exactly that's what we bring to the table. Let us show you the cheat codes so that you know how to get through this game and win.
Absolutely.
Right. So good analogy. I like that.
Happy Monday.
Go Batman.
Prepare for the week.